A Chinese AI lab just open sourced a model that beats Claude, beats ChatGPT, and is completely free. It's really quite crazy how it beat both ChatGPT and Claude on some of the hardest coding benchmarks that we've got. Anyway, here's exactly what happened, here's exactly why it matters, and how to get started with it right now, because nobody seems to be talking about this yet, but it's crucial. Let's take a look. So here are some of the SWE-Bench Pro performance marks. And as we take a look at it, we can see GLM-5.1 has a 58.4, GPT 5.4 has a 57.7, and Claude Opus has a 57.3. Now, you may think these are some very small changes. By the way, this one is higher. It should actually be lower, but doesn't matter. You may think that these are some small numbers, sure, but this is a leaderboard where every like half a point, and this is like a full point above, right, is like weeks of grinding. I mean, Claude Opus 4.6 cost you like $20 per million tokens, something like that. Right now, this benchmark says that a million tokens costs roughly $20 for Claude or for ChatGPT. Could be less, but you get the idea. It's still crazy to see now that GLM is open source, whereas the other two are closed, but also officially free, while having a better score. It's just crazy to think about this. And now, because it's open source, you can basically just download it, run it, and use it for completely free. No subscription, no official token cost or anything of that sort, just nothing. But what exactly is GLM 5.1? GLM 5.1 comes from GPU AI, a Chinese lab that's been quietly shipping really proper AI models. This one is 754 billion parameters, but here's the trick. It's a mixture of experts, which basically means that even though it's 754 billion strong, only 40 billion activate at a time. And so what that simply put means is it's smart enough to do all this stuff, but also could be structured enough to stay fast. And as far as I know, the license is MIT. And what this basically means is you can do anything with it. Modify it, sell it, as far as I believe, don't take this as advice. Run it on your own hardware, nothing is stopping you. Now, you may be wondering about context, because we know that about ChatGPT and Claude. Claude is doing really well nowadays. I believe it can hold about 200,000 tokens worth of context, which is basically like a Lord of the Rings book. And it can output, I believe, 131,000 tokens. But the real flex is that it can work autonomously on a single engineering task for up to 8 hours straight. That's the real flex there. The whole idea is you set it on a bug, you walk away and you come back, and most likely your problem is solved because it keeps rethinking the same strategy over and over again for all these hours, most likely hundreds of times. Now, why does it being open sourced actually matter? And why is that part so important? Here are 3 very important reasons, with number 1 being just plainly the cost. You can run this on your own, right? Whereas with Anthropic or with ChatGPT, well, you're paying per token. So the more you're computing, the more the costs run up, and they can run up pretty fast. Whereas this is, in that sense, pretty much infinitely scalable without that many more extra costs. If you've got an old gaming rig laying around, you've got an old device, an old laptop, whatever, you're pretty much golden. Because instead of paying per token now for all these different tasks, it's just like computational costs, like running your computer, basically, the cost of that, which is neglectable. Electricity is kind of expensive nowadays, but you get the drift, right? Now, the second part, which I think may be even more important than just the cost, is privacy. The more you're chatting with ChatGPT or I guess Claude, the more it knows about you, and you're basically relaying all this information back to their servers. If you're running things on your own models, well, the data stays with you. It's like a closed off ecosystem. So this is a feature that no paid model will ever experience in the same way, because this data stays with you. So especially if you're talking about your whole life, your whole business, etc., to a certain extent, it would be significantly better to run this on your own models so it doesn't get out there to the public, because that could be bad. And most importantly, reason number 3 is freedom. You can do with it whatever you want. There's no limitations whatsoever. It's running on your own machine. Yeah, it's pretty simple to explain that one. Maybe this other model's got safety concerns or some limitations of sorts, or they change their terms of service. They change something within their whole program. You don't have these limitations if you're all running it on your own. Now, even though that's good and all, I will quickly go ahead and admit that Claude or ChatGPT just feel a lot more optimized as of this point, but these open source models are catching up pretty fast, which is great to see. Even though we're not there yet, it is ahead in some ways. But again, you also have to realize that with Claude or with ChatGPT, you're, in my opinion, kind of paying for that polishedness, which these open source models don't yet have. But again, that's the way off, right? So how would you go ahead and try one of these open source AIs right now? What would be the method? How do you even get started with all this? Well, there are 4 options right now. Take a look at this: Hugging Face, API providers, local setup, or quantized your PC. I've also gone ahead and listed all the different methods as to how you should go about them. For example, here, I'll show you also in a second, but here's just if you want one of these, just see the setup and exactly how to do it. Go to Hugging Face Co., search for this GLM-5.1, click the chat interface and start typing prompts. Or with API providers, you can see it's slightly more difficult, but here's exactly how to do it. Local setup, exactly how to do it, step by step, or quantized, and exactly step by step yet again. Now, if you just wanted to quickly test out the model, you could go to one of the links I'll leave down below, just huggingface.co, find GLM for yourself and start chatting with it in this little bar on the right. All you have to do is log in, absolutely free, but that's the easiest way to get started. If you actually want to run it on your own device, there's a few methods, right? One, for example, is through an API provider. Now, in this case, you're not paying per token, but you're basically running it through OpenRouter, Together AI, whatever, and you're just paying per, let's call it computational power. I guess it's going to have to depend on exactly which one you choose, which method you're going to have to pay by, but you get it. This way is most likely going to be significantly cheaper still than Claude or ChatGPT. You can also run it fully on your own in a local sort of setup. But before that, I want to quickly show you option number 2. You go to, for example, OpenRouter, go to models right here. You're going to have to look for GLM-5.1, which is right here. Give it a little click. Here it basically shows you how much it's going to cost for input or for output tokens. So 0.95 and about 3.15 per million for input output. Obviously, still just a completely different league than Claude tokens. I think it's like 1/4 or so of the cost, something along that line. And all you have to do is just grab your API key right here and just run it through your app. For option number 3, like I was talking about before, if you're a developer yourself and you've already got a good GPU, this can be done pretty easily. And so an example here would be to go for the FP8 version. And as you can see, I've asked it real quick, what is the difference between an FP8 version, 2-bit compressed version? Well, the long story short is you've got FP16, largest, most accuracy, most data, right? And so every single time you compress it, it becomes easier to run on different sort of devices, but it also loses some intelligence and quality. Now, that's again a trade-off. You're going to have to decide for yourself, how big do you want to run this? It's also going to, of course, change the requirements as to whether or not you can, and also changes whether or not you want to run it in the cloud on your own little devices, though, or if you'd want to run it all locally, but obviously you're going to need some very good hardware for it unless you go ahead and decide to go for some compressed version. Here's the thing though, GLM 5.1 is not the only wave hitting right now. For example, the same week, Meta released Llama for Maverick, which has 400 billion parameters, 10 million tokens context window, which is basically the context window that beats them all right now as we speak. It's absolutely crazy. It's basically 10 times bigger than any paid model, and it's multimodal, which is text, vision, everything, and it's completely free as well. Then we've got MiniMax M2.7, which is not quite as good comparably as GLM 5.1, but the 2.7 model has something else that's pretty wild. It's basically self-evolving. So this model actively improves its own code during training. It apparently went through 100 autonomous optimization rounds, and it's already solving 30, I think, to 50% of MiniMax's internal research workflows without any human input. And also the one that's been most talked about the last couple of days being Google's Gemma 4. It's, I believe, 31 billion parameter model that actually benchmarks higher than Llama 4. Even though it's significantly smaller, it's supposedly a lot more efficient and still beats a lot of the other bigger models. And all of this, you can kind of see from the bottom right here, all of this dropped over the past 2 weeks right here. April has been an absolutely crazy month for all this. And yeah, it's pretty easy to see that the trend for this is unmistakable. This whole open source stuff, it's not just catching up, but it's basically becoming the thing, right? It's slapping paid models on specific benchmarks, and I think it's only going to be getting better. So what does this exactly mean? Here's my honest take. Open source, as of this point, wins on some specific tasks. It can win on coding, math, long-term horizon thinking, or engineering. And as you can see from this little overview, there's a couple other pieces that it can really win in, But there's actually a significant amount of things that are still better for or from the paid models, which for example are ease of use, consistency, the safety guardrails, the speed, and the support. To break it down, for example, ease of use. You know that if you go to ChatGPT's website or you open Claude up on your desktop or whatever, you know it's going to work because it's been built for that. There's no setup headache. You know it's very simple to open on your phone everywhere and it's going to work. It's also very consistent, always works in almost the exact same fashion. And like I said, you know the moment you open the website how exactly it's going to work because it's always the same experience and there was no setup. You couldn't have not done anything wrong. It's just plain simple. Also, you know it's going to be safe. Again, legal-wise or anything, if you download it on your own devices, it's up to you. There's safety rules online, which you don't have if you're running it on your own. Similarly with speed, let's say GPT, for example, will be what? 50 milliseconds in terms of a quick response time, whereas self-hosted, maybe more towards like 2 or 3 seconds on some really good hardware. Of course, that may change, but you get the idea. But the thing is, right now it's becoming a bit of a different question. Just 6 months ago, open sourced was nowhere to be seen. It wasn't even comparable, but it's at this point, if you're a developer or a real builder, so to speak, and you don't really care about some of these safeguard rails or the ease of use because, well, this is your bread and butter, well, open source really starts to make more and more sense. And a lot of my friends right now are actually really using their own open source models right there for most of their heavy lifting because they do not want their data to be public. They do not want Anthropic or OpenAI to have all the responses that they're given, which makes a lot of sense, especially if you've got the know-how to run these local models. And so right now as we speak, the whole game has shifted. I mean, these Chinese labs, Meta, Google, they're all moving so fast in making these open models so good that it's not really a catch-up anymore. It's now just going in slightly different directions, where a lot of people will, from here on forward, not pay for these massive subscriptions anymore, and they'll run it on their own. Whereas before, they were kind of like catching up. Right now, they're evolving into different things for different purposes, for different people. And I really think this puts some interesting pricing pressure on Claude and OpenAI because recently they've gotten more and more expensive, it feels like. They're starting to charge for more and more things, but the more, and this is especially over the next year or so, the more popular these open source models get, the easier the interface is eventually going to be, the easier the download and use process is going to be over time. Just give it a year, things will be completely different. The more pricing pressure there also is for Claude or ChatGPT, which I personally think is a really nice thing because the more pressure there is from these other sides, right, the more cheap these things are going to have to be. The trend was to get more and more expensive per token, but theoretically speaking, this may cause these other models to get cheaper. But truth be told, all we can do is just see how this evolves over the next couple of months. I think it's going in the right direction, but we'll have to see if all of a sudden these paid models just make another giant leap to put these open source models back in the dustbin. I don't think so, but hey, it's AI, it's moving rapidly and things are moving completely different than what one may expect or may have expected a few years ago. Now, what I want you to do as a takeaway from this video is just go to Hugging Face, try out an open source model just for a little bit to see how you like the feel. If it is something for you, it could be something you download and start working on straight away, sure. I'd like you to try prompting it just like how you do with Claude to see if you feel any difference, maybe one is significantly better than the other. And drop a comment down below if you've actually tried it or you think this open source stuff is better or worse. Let me know your feedback. Let me know how you think of all this because I'm quite interested to see how, because I've seen my own opinion right now, right? I've seen some of the community over on X, but I kind of wonder how you guys are feeling this and how you're experiencing this whole revolution, I'm gonna call it. And if you want me to run some of these things on my own device right here or show you how exactly I set that up or how I'm using these for my own workflows, let me know and I may make another video about this in the next couple of days. But this was it for today's little, I was gonna say crypto update, but this is an AI video, right? Hopefully you enjoyed it and I'll see you guys again in another video somewhere later on. But damn, this AI stuff is cool, huh?